the first time at the school, Jewish school in Fürth. I was thrown out of the state school, and it was in 1936. We were both 13 years old, and as luck would have it, I was assigned a seat next to him, which to the best of my memory, I kept for the next 2 years, namely 1938, when we graduated from the school.
And was was it one, in the old Wild West we used to have one-room schoolhouses.
Yeah.
Was it the kind of school that you sat in one seat and you got all of your classes from the same teacher, that kind of thing?
No, the school was, first of all, a very good educational institution, better possibly than the state schools. However, in Germany, I believe even today, the class they put, the teacher or professor or instructor comes into the class. We had, of course, a set curriculum. We did not choose our subjects except for gymnastics and religion and perhaps singing. Everything took place in that room. And so we were set.
I just need you to ask you to look at me.
Oh, yeah.
And do you remember, it's a long time ago, I know, do you remember what Dr. Kissinger excelled at that age? Was there anything that struck you about him even then?
I have to disappoint you. Nothing particularly struck me. He was one of the better students in the class. He definitely was good in mathematics, and he had even then an interest in history.
Perfect. Tell me about what life in Fürth was like prior to 1935 and the Nuremberg laws.
Life was really not unpleasant if you were able to adjust to the limitations. Starting in 1935, we could no longer go into the swimming pools, and we could not go to the soccer games or whatever games there were. We still could go to the movies, however. And while I was in the state school, things got pretty rough. Not only did the teachers become very nasty, of course we got a daily beating from our fellow students. But you get accustomed to that too.
Dr. Kissinger talks about in Fürth, once he was not able to go to the soccer game, standing on the sidelines and watching.
Yeah,
something
yeah.
you also did.
Yes.
Could you just tell
Well,
us
I
about
was
that?
not such a fan of soccer, so I didn't really miss it so much. I did go into the swimming pools even after the signs were up, Jews and dogs are not allowed. But somehow it didn't bother me, and I went in anyway. And one day, Julius Streicher visited the bathhouse with and he made the statement, I'm going to find me all the Jew boys, and I'm really going to beat them up. However, I got out before he came to me.
Did you live near the Kissingers?
No, I lived in Nuremberg, which is about, by trolley, 35, 40 minutes. I used my bicycle. I went to school on my bike, except when it was very cold in the winter, then I took the trolley.
And were you friends with Henry outside of school?
No, we were very friendly, but we did not visit one another because there was quite a distance.
And at that age, getting to and from was...
Yes, yes. And then we had homework, etc., etc.
You've touched on if you can, you may have been too young, but you've certainly touched on what happened as of 1935 in the Nuremberg laws.
Yeah.
What was life and you lived in Nuremberg, but
Yeah.
what was life like prior to the Nuremberg laws? What was the town of Firth like, and what went on in Firth?
Not having been in Fürth particularly before I went to the school there, even though I had relatives in Fürth, I think it was a very pleasant town. It was a comparatively small town, and life was simple.
Excuse me for a second.
Certainly. Describe for me the circumstances under which you came to the United States, and was it something you found out coincidentally that the Kissingers were also doing at the same time, or was it something that everybody who could was?
Everybody who could come to the United States came to the United States. I vaguely knew that the Kissingers would also come to the United States. I did not exactly know when, but to my great surprise, they moved into the apartment house next to ours, where we finally found an apartment. So in this country, we became great friends.
And however, you did not come. You came in the same year, but you didn't come in the same manner, take
No.
the same trip at
No,
the same time.
no.
Describe for me then Dr. Kissinger has very eloquently, but please, describe for me the changes in your life, Firth to here, Nuremberg to Washington Heights.
For me, the changes were only dramatic in the sense that the education was really interrupted. I felt called upon to go to work. I did receive working papers. I was not quite 15 years old, but I did get my working papers, and I went to night school. Incidentally, the same school that Henry went to, I went at night. And after having received the necessary accreditation, I went to Pratt Institute in the same year, 1938.
I want to go back to the trip for a second. How long do you remember how long the actual trip took from your departure to your arrival?
Oh, yes. In those days, the steamships were not quite as fast as they are now. An Atlantic crossing usually took at least 6 to 7 days. We were fortunate enough to book on a U.S. line ship, which was subsequently sunk, and we were able to come first class because we were able to prepay all this, I believe, in German currency.
I know it's difficult, but if you could not rotate.
Okay.
I'm doing it myself.
Yeah.
I was doing it, and
Yeah.
I looked over. I saw
Yeah.
you were too.
Yeah.
It's hard to resist.
Yeah.
Upon arrival here, you moved to Washington Heights.
Yeah.
How long a period of time? How long a period of time were you out of school from when you finished in Firth to your starting, I guess, night school here in the States?
Less than a month. We graduated, I think, the beginning of May. We arrived in this country the end of May. I went to night school and got passed the Regents exams in June. So that was done very quickly.
Describe life in Washington Heights for what must have been a number of immigrants.
Yes, as you no doubt know, it was called the Fourth Reich, and to hear a word of English in the early years was rare. There were lots of little shops which were run and or owned by Germans, German Jews, and life was really not unpleasant, except that to find work or to find any kind of make any kind of living. It was not exactly easy. But we found strength in one another, and we belonged to the various Jewish congregations, and there was a certain amount of social life.
Tell me about the buildings that you lived in, and once you arrived here, did it come as how much of a surprise was it? Did you just bump into Henry on the street, or oh look, we're living next to each other, I didn't know you were coming at all?
Exactly how we met, I don't remember. However, it wasn't difficult. I bet that within a day or two we met. He came, of course, a month or two after we arrived.
Tell me about that So, okay, so you went to night school.
Yeah.
Henry was at this point?
Henry, I believe, went in the fall to George Washington High School during the day, I believe.
Correct. And you did not attend?
I did not. I felt called upon to support our household, which was not an easy matter to support.
Tell me about any change you may have noticed in Henry from Firth to Washington Heights, and his ability to learn English or not learn English.
I really did not find any particular change, and we really only spoke English with one another, right from the beginning.
In beginning in Washington Heights?
Yeah, right. Right.
Okay. Tell me about Beth Hillel.
Beth Hillel was, my uncle happened to be a co-founder of that congregation. It was founded by the immigrants from Nuremberg and from Munich. The orientation was conservative and what may be called reform. It was called reform, but it was really more a conservative connotation. And the rabbi who taught me my bar mitzvah class was the rabbi of the congregation. And his son was among our friends. And the congregation fulfilled an important purpose because it offered some social life. It offered, I believe the adults were able to take English classes. I know we didn't. And it was a good thing.
And for you children, what did you?
Well, we formed a youth group, and I was not that active in the youth group because I was really very busy. I worked all day and went to school at night, so there wasn't that much free time during the week. On weekends, of course, there was time.
And what are your memories, if any of the socializing that went on in the youth group, and in particular you and...
Well, in the youth group, we met, of course, people whom we knew from either Nuremberg, mainly Nuremberg. There were some people from Fürth, not too many. And we went on hikes together. We played tennis under the George Washington Bridge here in Washington Heights. And later on, we also went to dancing school, which was actually quite a fiasco.
This is Edith Peretz's
yes.
ballroom dance classes.
Yes, yes.
Describe those for me, please.
Edith Peretz and her husband were very enterprising and formed a dance school, but it was more than a school. It was really a club. And we would go there usually on Saturday evening, and it was 25 cents, and we were taught how to dance. And every so often, Mrs. Peretz threw some sort of a social. It was a ball, and Kissinger was reasonably clumsy, and I wasn't much better. So we really stepped mainly on the girls' feet. And to this day, I don't like to dance.
Um, uh, that's good. Tell me about what you after the arrival and you had settled in and you're both members of Beth Hillel and you're going to these ballroom dance classes. What else did you do on a given evening on a very limited budget?
We met many evenings in my parents' house, and I'm sure that my mother served something. I don't remember what, because the boys came back on a regular basis. There were 8 to 10 of us. And what did we do? We talked about all kinds of subjects. First of all, we talked about sports. Then we talked about the day's happenings, and actually did not commiserate particularly. That stands out quite clearly. We all pursued either our work, and Henry went to school, at least in the first year, and it was a pleasant diversion.
Elaborate for me on what we didn't commiserate, really.
Well, we didn't particularly discuss what was going on in Germany because we did get news on a pretty regular basis. Our parents tried to get the remaining relatives out. I know I spent a lot of time going to the Western Union office in Washington Heights to send cables to Germany to facilitate their getting out. And we did get my cousin, her husband, and my grandmother. We got them out maybe end of '39.
Did Henry, obviously you were very young and perhaps not, but did Henry talk at all about any of the relatives they had left behind and their efforts to get some of their family members out?
Yes, but I really don't recall any particulars. I knew some of his relatives. The ones who came over, the ones who were left behind, I never met.
And was it just kind of a given for all of you that this was going on, that all of you had come here, this awful event was going on there, that all of you had left relatives there?
Yes.
And that was all just kind of taken as a given, that
life had to go on, and it weighed more heavily, I think, on our parents than it did on us.
How often did you leave Washington Heights to venture, to explore?
Yeah. Well, I personally never felt the ghetto environment that really did exist there. We went all over. I recall, I believe it was in '38, Henry, being the avid soccer fan, forced me to go to Randall's Island. At that time, there was a stadium there. I don't know if it's still there. The German soccer team, a good German soccer team, played the New York City Police soccer team. And I went with him, and it was quite frustrating because before the game started, they played the Nazi hymn, and everybody got up, and Henry and I decided not to get up, which was not, it was just uncomfortable. And of course, when they played the American national anthem, we did get up.
Describe for me, if you can, what the young Henry Kissinger looked like
You've seen pictures?
Yes.
Okay, that's exactly how he looked. He was not exactly a fashion plate.
In Walter Isaacson's recent biography of Henry Kissinger, I don't know if you've read it from '92.
Yes.
He describes evenings at your parents' home.
Yes.
And conversations supposed conversations that Henry Kissinger had with your father.
Yes, I can tell you about that. I think that was really the first inkling I had that he was more than just fleetingly interested in the political scene. Wendell Willkie at that time was campaigning for president, and Henry decided that he was going to be a Wendell Willkie Republican. Wendell Willkie's theme of one world intrigued him tremendously. My father, as most refugees, was a Roosevelt Democrat, and they had some very heated discussions. I sometimes went to bed because it was a little bit much.
And these discussions between your father and the 16, 17-year-old Henry
Yes,
Kissinger,
yeah.
I imagine that. What were the other children's reaction to the 16-year-old Henry Kissinger sitting and talking politics with your father?
None of the others were really involved. Henry, living so close to us, he just came over and visited. Sometimes for dinner, sometimes after dinner. It was very leger. The others were not really involved in that.
How often was Dr. Kissinger over at your parents' home?
Well, the only way I can tell you, quite often. Sometimes every second day, sometimes at least once a week. But we were always visiting one another. I also went to his parents.
And tell me what his apartment was like and what his parents and brother.
The apartment was a very comfortable apartment. It was furnished exactly like hundreds of other refugee apartments. We all brought over our furniture. Most of the furniture was new because we had this misconception that in America the apartments are very small and therefore you need small furniture. It proved not to be the case really, but we came with furniture. You go from one apartment to the other. The basic style was the same.
I'm going to jump around here,
Yeah.
but I want to go back for one moment, back to Firth and back to the real school?
Realschule.
Realschule. Tell me again about the Realschule and what Henry excelled at and how he fit into the rest of the class.
He was one of the boys, there was no doubt. We had our pranks. We thought nothing of locking the door so the teacher couldn't enter. And when we had exams, we would spike the inkwells with salad oil so that nobody could write. And the worst prank, in my opinion, was we took pencils, put them on the floor, and we rolled them with our feet. And it, of course, gave a deafening noise. But we only dared do that with one of the teachers. And the rest of them, we didn't quite dare do that. And, I mean, he was not the gang leader, neither was I, but we were part of all this.
That's great. Thank you. That's exactly the kind of thing I wanted to do. Tell me about Ann Fleischer, and tell me about Ann Fleischer.
Tell you about Ann Fleischer. Ann Fleischer, I'm trying to remember exactly how that story unfolded, and I'll try to give it to you as factually as I remember. I believe that we really didn't date in the sense that, especially in the earlier years, that she was exclusively my girlfriend or Henry's girlfriend. We dated and we went out together. We went to the movies together. And I believe I dated her in quotation marks first. And then Henry dated her also, which was perfectly normal. I mean, we dated all kinds of girls without any hesitation, and I think what happened was that as the U.S. got into the war, these relationships all of a sudden became of more concern, and because we knew that some of us might not come back. And I think at that point, Anne Fleischer decided to become actually marry Henry. While it wasn't spelled out, that was the inference. And I'm trying to recollect what my reaction was. Since I can't really remember, it couldn't have been very strong. But we kept on going out with one another anyway.
Describe her for me.
She's a very nice person. I've met her since then, not very often, but we lived in Lexington and they lived in Brookline. She came to visit us occasionally, and she's very nice, very caring, and in my opinion, it was not a good match to start out with, even though I was for it at the time, if you will.
The wedding, were you at the wedding?
No. As a matter of, I was already married when Henry married. My wife and Henry and Anne went out together, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times, and then they got married, and then they moved to Brookline. He went to Harvard, and we stayed on, and we sort of lost touch with one another.
Henry what goes on to Harvard and you were about to.
Yeah. Henry and I in the Furt, we were interested in girls. We didn't go out with girls, but we were interested and we talked about them. This was, and we liked really the same girls. This was the first inkling of a clash later on, because I certainly liked Anne, and obviously he liked Anne.
As you said, you don't remember whether it came as a surprise or not that Henry and Anne got married.
To me, it did not come to as a surprise at all, because in a way, I suppose I was instrumental that they finally made up their mind.
Tell me about your contact with Dr. Kissinger after he moves to Cambridge and on to Harvard.
Actually, the contact was either by mail or by or an occasional telephone call. We really never got together socially. He was always very busy. As a matter of fact, I don't think he did much socializing with Anne either, because he was preoccupied with his career. And as I told you, we did manage to get together with Anne on a few occasions.
Does it surprise you, or does it those of, I don't know if are you in touch with other men and women that made the trip over and
Oh,
grew
yes.
up near or in
Oh,
Washington
yes.
Heights,
Oh, yes.
and who are also friends with Henry?
Oh, yes.
Does it when you sit around and talk, and when talk comes back to Henry Kissinger, do you say, my God, who could have picked him out for this, or do you say, you know, it really makes sense, look at.
Well, I think none of us expected him to rise to such heights. But all of us, whether we agree with his philosophies or not, are extremely proud of his accomplishments and of what he did not only for this country but also for the entire world. And from a immigrant's point of view, our wave of immigrants contributed a lot of great people to the American culture, starting with Albert Einstein, Otto Preminger, and on it goes, and last but not least, Henry Kissinger. So we did not really see that, which doesn't mean it wasn't there. We just didn't see it.
His mother said something similar. Are you picking any of the whole? Did you get that? The last answer was very important. Did you get the last without interference from the whole? Let's do it again. Just the last question that I had asked you, whether the success of Henry Kissinger came as a surprise to those of you who knew him.
Yeah, you want me to repeat?
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, I don't believe that any one of us really saw the genius developing. We knew he was studious, but a good number of us were studious and are still studious. And it is, however, no surprise that with his diligence and his ambition and his drive, that he did get to where he finally wound up with. And above all, we are all very proud that he accomplished such wonderful things, not only for the United States, but for the whole world. And since our wave of immigrants, even though we were really given a very hard time to come into this country, managed to contribute that much to the culture of this country.
Is there anything about Henry Kissinger, the young Henry Kissinger that you knew, you feel we haven't covered? Is there something that you remember about him that I've not asked about, or that you want?
Can I look at some notes?
Please.
Okay. Before we all went into the Army, we started to celebrate, if you will, and we went to a nightclub called the Iceland. And the attraction there was, number one, it was inexpensive. Number two, they would take pictures of the party, whoever was there, and that gave us a means of to memorize or to remember the event. And I do have a number of very nice pictures, and I have one before we went into the Army, and I have a couple when we came home on our first pass from the Army, and naturally we met.
Do you remember did you and Henry talk about going into the Army? And
Oh, yes.
tell me
We
about that.
talked a lot. While we were very anxious to do the right thing for this country, we were somewhat afraid because
I'm sorry. Should we put a lav on here?
technical difficulties here.
Okay.
Now my battery is there.
Now your battery's dead.
I'm running again, and you can go ahead, sir.
Tell us
Okay.
about your conversations going into
We were concerned, of course, about the forthcoming danger, yet we were more than willing to become soldiers because we felt that was the least we could do for the country, because after all they did rescue us from the Germans. The concern was, of course, if we would be captured by the Germans. And the army became acutely aware of all this. Henry, of course, went in along those lines because he was involved with military intelligence. I was not. And that was really our major concern. And in a way, we looked forward to get going because to sit around and to wait was really not good either. And we both, Henry and I both, went into the Army in 1943. I think he went in maybe 3 weeks after I did.
And when you came out?
I came out in 1945. He stayed on in Germany. I think he came back in 46 or in 46. Yeah, 46.
And did the two of you, your families were still in Washington Heights?
Oh, yes. Oh, our families met, if no place else, in the grocery store. But they met, and especially Paula Kissinger and my mother were very friendly. And I, for one, liked his father very much. Very fine gentleman.
We have some terrific pictures of,
Yes.
of the family. And anything else from your notes? I think
I think that covers it. If you ask me specific questions, I may be able to answer you, but
one of the things that many people have talked about, including Dr. Kissinger, is his terrific wit and terrific sense of humor.
yeah.
Do you remember anything, either in Firth or here?
It was he was no wittier than the rest of us. We were all quite witty. And the first inkling I had that he was extremely bright was the Army ASDP, the Army IQ test. He got a score which was genius level. None of us got that high. And it, of course, helped that he had a year in a day school, but that showed for the first time to me that he is brilliant.
Was this a source of great pride for him, or was it not something that he...
It was, I mean, he mentioned it, but he didn't make a federal case of it. And of course his father was very proud of that, and rightfully so. Being a teacher himself, you know.
Well, I think that's great. I think we've gotten...
Pretty much
Yeah.
what you're going to get from me.
Yes. Well, thank you. You were very...